How's it going, everyone? Gotta put the kibosh on a pretty exciting PlayStation rumor that had been circulating. Really didn't seem like there was a lot of fire to it, but I saw it making the rounds just because the idea of this IP getting revived. I think a lot of people were excited about just the idea of it, but Jason Schreier has kind of shut that one down. Okay, so Jason Schreier, in a response to a rumor about a new Sly Cooper game, noted, no truth to this one, sorry to say. Sucker Punch is a one-project studio. The reason Ghost of Tsushima 2 isn't out yet is because AAA video games now take 5 to 7 years to make. Also, Sucker Punch is smaller than most other AAA game developers. I don't even know where this notion of Ghost of Tsushima 2 taking long to make came from. The game came out in 2020. Like, that's the end of the deal. That's the end of the story. It is 2024, and hopefully it's a case of Ghost of Tsushima is going to be announced and then released shortly thereafter, maybe 2025 or 2026, but that's kind of the world where we live in. Naughty Dog is a bigger studio, so obviously they've got these remasters cooking and whatnot, but even they haven't revealed a brand new game. They're kind of using those remasters to bridge the gap into their next big title, and I feel like we don't get that same kind of rhetoric from Naughty Dog about where is Last of Us Part 3, where is their next new title. I personally just I have fond remembrance of the days of AAA studios, Sucker Punch included, putting out games every 2 years. I remember when Sucker Punch dropped Infamous 1 in 2009, Infamous 2 in 2011, and then Infamous Second Son came out in 2014. I remember when Naughty Dog dropped Uncharted 1 in 2007, Uncharted 2 in 2009, Uncharted 3 in 2011, and The Last of Us in 2013. Those days are gone, and I would argue that the games have gone worse. Now, Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite PlayStation titles, so you know, I am totally fine with Sucker Punch taking their time and cooking that up, but it would be nice if these games were just, in my opinion, it would be better if they were smaller scale and the turnaround time was quicker, but that's the reality we live in. That's why you're not gonna have so many heavy, first-party years for PlayStation. It's just not gonna happen when these studios take 5 years to put out big games. I do question what the long-term viability of that is, given that games are gonna stick to a $70 price point, and the development time has just gotten longer and longer and longer, and you have to figure out ways to monetize these games deeper, and Sony really hasn't done egregious monetization with a lot of their games. It's just like $70 games, boom, done. But with their titles, the way that they've extended the monetization life is by releasing them on PC and maybe doing like PlayStation 5 upgrades, remasters. I mean, they remastered Last of Us Part 2, remastered Last of Us Part 1. I would argue neither game needed it, and then the rumblings of remastering Horizon Zero Dawn and then porting those games to PC. That is how they've extended the life and the monetization cycle of those games, which that's been pretty effective, and you know what? I would much rather that than the games having crazy microtransactions or anything like that. But circling back to the rumor of a Sly Cooper, whenever you bring up an IP like a Sly Cooper or a Jak and Daxter, and there is a tiny bit, a sliver of a hope that it could be leading to a new game, people are gonna latch onto it because there is so much nostalgia attached to an IP like Sly Cooper. I grew up playing Sly 1 through 3. There were some of my fond memories on PlayStation 2. I played Thieves in Time, and I thought Thieves in Time was a pretty solid game. A lot of people forget about that. If I remember correctly, Thieves in Time wasn't done by Sucker Punch, but Thieves in Time did set up another Sly Cooper game that ultimately was never realized, so, you know, it's one of those IPs that has unfortunately just been completely forgotten about. I do question, you know, why don't we hand off stuff like getting the Sly games on PS4 and PS5 to smaller studios? I think, you know, do remastered collections, do ports to PC, see how they're received, and see if a 2024 audience, because the 2024 audience is much different than the 2011, 2012, 2013 audience that you released Sly 4 on. Gaming has evolved greatly. The social media bubble in gaming, in terms of how people talk about video games, it's changed greatly, so I do think it would be effective in revisiting some of these franchises. I think a lot has changed over the last 6 or 7 years, given that all these games are being released on PC as well. Why not release an HD remastered collection on PS4 and PS5? How much investment does that require? I imagine not that much. You can outsource a project like that to a smaller studio, release it on PS4 and PS5, $40, $50 for all 3 Sly games, maybe throw Thieves in Time in there as well, you port it to PC as well. These could be nice bridge the gap style releases when you do have a quieter first party year like a 2024, where, okay, let's get people excited for a Sly HD collection, okay, let's get people excited for A potential Thieves in Time remaster. Okay, let's get people excited for Infamous 1 and 2 getting a collection. I personally don't know what the undertaking of getting a project like that done is. I know the PlayStation 3 has that horrid cell architecture that was a pain to develop for, but if you can outsource it to a studio that can figure it out, port the game to PS4 and PS5, port that project to PC as well, imagine them porting Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection. You were able to take Uncharted 1 through 3, port that over. Those used to be PS3 only titles. You were able to port those over to PS4 and PS5. Well, PS4, but playable on PS5 through backwards compatibility, so on and so forth. Why can't you do the same for Sly Thieves in Time? And Sly 1 through 3 are PS2 games, or the Sly HD collection, which was available on PS3. You look at something like that, God of War 1, 2, Chains of Olympus, Ghosts of Sparta. There are so many titles they could look at and be like, okay, let's have these in the pipeline. Let's get some HD remaster collection. It would let you keep the lifeline to those IPs still attached. More people would be exposed to those IPs. You would expand those IPs because now you can release it on PC. It would be an additional revenue stream. It would fill out a calendar year where it's relatively quiet like this year was as well. I think they did that great back in like 2009 and 2010 where they were dropping like the God of War HD collection and people got excited over that. Where they dropped like the Sly collection, the Ratchet collection. They were these accessory releases. They didn't define a year of releases, but they were these accessory releases that you could monetize and you can generate more revenue out of. Why don't you do that? Especially now you're bringing PC onto that side of things. I think people would be all over buying a Sly collection on Steam and PC, as well as on PS4 and PS5, a God of War collection, a Ratchet collection. Future is somehow stuck on the PlayStation 3. Like, what are we doing? If we can manage to get Uncharted 1 through 3 on PlayStation 4, we can figure out how to get Ratchet Tools of Destruction, Future Crack in Time, and all the other superfluous smaller games onto modern platforms. There's this bevy of classic titles, which I just don't understand why you don't go down that route to at least offer some bridge the gap during the quieter periods, during the quieter months, have those games come out. And again, I don't know the ins and outs on how expensive porting those games are, but I can't imagine it's that expensive. And on top of that, it would let you reassess what the actual appetite for those IPs are, because it's one thing where people like me complain on social media, but when you have a collection that at least those people that are complaining will certainly seek out those collections and check them out, or those ports or whatever, you could also assess it from a real monetization standpoint and a sales number standpoint and get actual data on what is the real appetite for these franchises making a comeback. And I think there's no logical way, at least in how my brain works, thinking that a Sly HD collection for PS4, PS5, and PC wouldn't be a profitable endeavor. I imagine it would be a profitable endeavor. I just have to think it would be, but maybe I'm crazy. But for now, as far as Sly getting a new title, looks like there's no truth to it, and obviously it's disappointing news, but I don't find it that surprising either. Ghost of Tsushima is a juggernaut of an IP, or they're trying to make it into a juggernaut of an IP. That PC release is going to do very, very well. And I think Ghost of Tsushima 2 is going to be a big game for them as well. It's just, I do wish we could shorten up these 5 to 7 year development cycles, and I would rather smaller scale games that we could get every 2 years, because I would say in Infamous 1 and 2, as much as I like Ghost of Tsushima, I would put Infamous 1 and 2 right up there, almost at the same level. Obviously, they're not as good from a technical standpoint, but the games back then, I think, were just as good as the games today. And the games today, you just wait a lot longer to play them. And honestly, like, let's say a trilogy kicks off like this year. Well, if you're talking 7 years and that development cycle is getting longer and longer, you're talking about a trilogy legitimately taking 20 to 25 years to conclude. I don't mean to be morbid here, but who knows with how life is going that you're gonna make it to the end of a trilogy starting. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there, that is a reality you have to face with how long game development times are getting. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching. And what is your appetite for a new Sly game, Jack game, and those collections? The idea of those collections happening. Doesn't it seem like just the easiest thing to do? You can generate some sales, generate some revenue, and also really gauge the appetite of these various IPs. I don't know, it just seems like something that would be so obvious to do, but I feel like with how obvious it seems to me, there's gotta be a reason they're not doing it. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.